Back here on NFL Network, the Cleveland Browns announcing their decision to release Josh Gordon coming up on Monday, coming as a bit of a surprise. They had just ruled him out for Sunday's game in New Orleans against the Saints. Let's go to the phones now. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport joining us. Ian, a surprising decision. What can you tell us about it with the Browns deciding to part ways with Josh Gordon?
Yeah, as always with Josh Gordon, there's nothing simple, and there's actually a lot to this one. And let's start off with the fact that when Josh Gordon stepped away from training camp because of a violation of the NFL substance abuse policy earlier in actually it was July, he came back healthy but also on thin ice. And I think for the Browns, it was a situation where one more time when they just did not feel like they could count on him and trust him was too much. And so my understanding is he came in today after practicing all week, getting ready to play in the game. He came in late, which was certainly a strike against him. Then he came in complaining of a hamstring injury. And part of the issue is not just that he injured his hamstring, it's how he injured his hamstring. And he really was fine, from what I am told, during practice on Friday, and then showed up today complaining that his hamstring was injured. And he was honest with them. But how he actually hurt his hamstring, which the specific reason is not yet clear, that was something that I know was frustrating to the Browns and led them to believe that this is just someone they could not trust going forward.
And Ian, you mentioned back in July when Josh Gordon announced that just a few days before training camp that he wasn't going to be there in Berea with the rest of the team, that was a substance abuse-related issue in July?
It was, and that was something that we had discussed as well, during the time, although, it was not clear just how serious it was. He stepped away from the team to go into treatment, and it was something that was described at the time as for his own, physical and mental well-being, but my understanding was it was a treatment facility, and he did not fail a drug test. Specifically, he did not fail a drug test, but there were a lot of other issues that could land you in a treatment facility besides that. Missing tests is one, not being accountable to your treatment program is another. And, for Josh Gordon, it was one step in a long series of missteps for the Cleveland Browns. And tonight, they decided enough was enough.
And so the Browns electing to move on, and this would make Josh Gordon available. Ian, what do you think the market might be for a guy who has this undeniable talent that we've seen on the field since 2012?
Well, it's really a question of how comfortable does a team feel with him, because that's really the thing right now. He's set free. Any team can claim him. Any team can sign him. It's really just he's open and he's not going to command a high salary, so it's going to be for the minimum. But it's the middle of the season, or beginning of the season. But we're during the season, and someone's going to have to decide how much am I willing to invest in a player that has had many, many, many chances and simply has not been accountable. And I think for Josh Gordon, the talent is what it is. I mean, it's obvious how incredibly talented he is. It's just a matter of not just does he know where he's going to line up, but am I going to know that he's actually going to be available to be lined up? And it's something the Browns wrestle with for 4 years. And if he's picked up by another team, they'll wrestle with it as well.
And Ian, looking at this process, the way it played out for the Browns, it seemed to happen pretty quickly. They coming in on Saturday, test his hamstring out, then make the announcement on his impending release within hours. Was that a process that they had planned out, kind of a zero tolerance with Josh Gordon this year?
I was not told zero tolerance. It was more just he's on thin ice. And, we knew when he came back from the treatment facility that all was not well. It was really just a matter of how much could the Browns trust him. And I was not told it was one strike because from my understanding, his release was a collection of issues, from the hamstring injury to being late today to just them not knowing what they were going to have on a daily basis. And, Patrick, a player showing up on a Saturday morning and just saying all of a sudden, I'm not fit to play on Sunday when you've game planned around him all week is a major issue regardless of whether the player has strikes against him or not. And for the Browns, it was just one strike too many.
So the cumulative impacts of everything since 2012 result in Josh Gordon's release from the Browns. We saw Ian during this most recent season of Hard Knocks. Dez Bryant comes in, he's signing Browns helmets. Then we find out Josh Gordon's coming back. We don't see any movement on the Dez front. Would that be a place that John Dorsey might go here?
Possible. It is. My understanding is it's in consideration, and for Dez Bryant, it was really more of just not being able to agree on money as opposed to anything else. I know the Browns were interested; they remained interested. Dez remained interested in them. Whether or not that can go forward is something we have to find out. And are they willing to offer enough to make him come to Cleveland? But they obviously have a big need there, and that's actually why the conversation with Dez Bryant started, was when Josh Gordon stepped away from training camp, and they're actually back in the same position again. So certainly that is something we'll be watching going forward.
And Ian, for Josh Gordon, the league, of course, watching him and his involvement with the substance abuse policy, will there be increased scrutiny after this, or is he in the same situation he was earlier this week?
My understanding is, as far as just the substance abuse policy itself, he is in the same situation. This is not, from what I am told, a substance abuse issue. It is a trust issue, but not a, let's say, for instance, he's going to be tested a lot more than he was. This is just the byproduct of what having Josh Gordon on your team entails, rather than something that the league will actually mandate. As far as the substance abuse policy, he's still one strike away, but nothing that happened here, as far as I'm told, impacted that.
Well, as far as his attractiveness to other teams, a guy in his career 17.3 yards per reception, should be at least some markets, some people interested in getting Josh Gordon. On the phone there, Ian Rapoport taking time out of his Saturday, getting ready for a busy Sunday. Ian, thank you. We will go back to the phones to get Mary Kay Cabot, longtime Browns journalist, on the phone. Mary Kay, your reaction, a surprising announcement from Cleveland this morning.
Well, when we heard that he was staying home from the Saints trip, we knew at that point that there was something that was up with Josh that could be more than just a hamstring. It was just too fishy. It was also, kind of strange that he was being kept home with just a hamstring instead of joining the team, going to meetings, being part of this game, standing on the sidelines, and all those things. So as the day went along, I've been really working the phones all day just trying to figure out what was going on, and came up with a few things, including that he was late to the facility this morning. I was told by one person that he did not seem to be himself, and there was concern that in addition to the hamstring, that perhaps he was struggling in other ways, perhaps with things related to reasons why he's been suspended in the past. There was just there were just red flags for the Browns. They just reached the end of their rope, really.
And Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer with us on the phone now as the Browns announced they are planning on releasing wide receiver Josh Gordon. Mary Kay, Ian described Josh Gordon's situation and his relationship with the team and management as on thin ice. From your perspective, was it only going to take something like this for him to be out the door the same day?
Yes, I would have to say that he was on thin ice because they had given him chance after chance after chance since 2012. I mean, this regime doesn't even know really the half of what Josh Gordon has been through since he was first drafted in the supplemental draft way back when. They haven't been through the full 6 years of it. It's been a lot. They have stuck by him basically through thick and thin, but I just think that they got to the point where they felt there was really nothing more they could do.
Hey, Mary Kay, Ian had mentioned the difference or the gulf between Dez Bryant and the Cleveland Browns and John Dorsey was money related. Now that Josh Gordon is no longer in the fold, do you see a situation where they might make more money available for Dez Bryant?
Well, I think it's something to keep an eye on. The last time I sat with John Dorsey to do a preseason one-on-one interview with him, he did mention that with Dez Bryant, it's sort of a week-to-week thing. You kind of see how things are going with your team, and if he's available and you need him, maybe you guys will have another conversation. And, I could see that happening. I don't know if they'll rush to sign him right away, but I do think it's something to explore and something that they have in their back pocket.
Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer. Browns releasing Josh Gordon going into Sunday. This does create a bit of a hole. Obviously, Jarvis Landry able to operate at the one. Who fills in the shoes? Obviously, nobody can really fill in what Josh Gordon does on the field on Cleveland right now. But who takes most of those reps?
Well, Antonio Callaway is going to try to step up. Now, he's another rookie who comes in with some baggage and has some issues, and he's someone that the Browns have to keep a tight rein on and a very close watch on him as well. He already had a little misstep when he first arrived here. So he's someone that they're going to, throw out there, but he's also learning the offense, and he's very raw. He sat out all last year at Florida on a suspension, and last week, he only played 17% of the snaps, and that's in part because he is so new and he is learning. So I think that Rashard Higgins is another player that they can probably put out there and rely on him a little bit more right now, and I think he'll get some extra reps tomorrow at the Superdome.
A wild afternoon for the Cleveland Browns. Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer. We will let you go there and get ready for this game coming up on Sunday, a game the Browns will not have Josh Gordon for. The team announcing his impending release. This is the statement from Browns GM John Dorsey, released within the past hour. This afternoon, we informed Josh Gordon and his representatives that we are going to release him on Monday. For the past 6 years, the Browns have fully supported and invested in Josh, both personally and professionally. And we wanted the best for him, but unfortunately, we've reached the point where we feel it's best to part ways and move forward. We wish Josh well. We'll have much more on this tonight as you stick it right here on NFL Network. The Browns planning to release Josh Gordon coming up on Monday.